Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, pack up your beach umbrellas and swimsuits. We're leaving behind the blue ocean. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We are going to be talking about the news from the week, including everything coming out of Nintendo's earnings call. And then on Thursday, come back because we are going to be ranking Donkey Kong's animal buddies.
There's a lot of them.
There are a lot of animal buddies. We put some restrictions on it, but we will talk about that on Thursday. Mark, before we do that, though, how would you rank your animal buddies? Who's your number one animal buddy?
Let's see. Terrence, the rat who lives outside my apartment building, high on the list.
Yeah, okay. You're not willing to commit to a ranking for him
Well,
yet?
I mean, it's a long list, and you really put me on the spot
I
here,
did.
but
I did. It's true. All right, I won't make you play favorites with the rats that live outside your building. Just as long as you won't make me play favorites with the ants that live in mine. But that'll be a good conversation. I think it'll be fun. Mark, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Mm-hmm.
Really enjoying the weather, which we won't talk about very much because it's not a segment on our show anymore.
We no
But
longer
needless
do
to
a
say,
weather report.
It's been
That's
rainy.
right. It has.
It's not really a weather report, more just like a brief mention of the weather.
Right. It's so it is not hard. We could just not mention the weather, but I'm going to go ahead and say it is hard to not bring up the weather.
I think it's because for so long we talked about the weather
Uh-huh. On this show, you
on
mean.
this show,
Right.
On this Nintendo show.
That's right, as like a scheduled segment.
Yeah, and that it just sometimes it feels like comfort food.
Yeah, like a thing that we need to that we just need to do so we can be comfortable with each other. Mark and I are very standoffish most of the time.
What's a conversation with you if we're not talking about the weather? Is basically what it comes down to, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Here's something that's not weather related.
Yeah.
Your copy of Sonic Forces.
My copy of Sonic Forces. I just sent it to somewhere in Illinois. But anyone can borrow it.
Wonderful. It's like Flat Stanley. It's really seen the world.
Mm-hmm, that's right. It's getting passed around. And all you need to do is email us your address. Send that to Nintendo Cartridge Society
At gmail.com.
And then you get my copy of this game. You can play it for as long as you want. Then you send it back. All of it is paid for. So, what kind of risk is this to you? It's like no kind of risk to you.
No, especially since you put your name on this list. It'll probably be months until you get it.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple entries on the list right now. If you have contacted us in a way that is not emailing us, saying that you want my copy of Sonic Forces, I need your address. You need to email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com.
Those are just the rules of the program.
Right. Also, I don't want anyone tweeting out their address for no reason. Like,
What a nightmare.
share with us. We're just two weirdos. If you tweet it, any number of weirdos will have your address.
Not worth it. It's just Sonic Forces.
It is just Sonic Forces. Here's another thing you could do. You could rate our podcast on Apple Podcasts, just like Counting Expert did. We got a 5-star review from them, and we appreciate it greatly. Thank you, Counting Expert.
Yeah, you can rank us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get this show.
Yeah, and if you review us on something that is not Apple Podcasts, say like the Stitcher app.
Right, and even more specifically, the U.S. Apple Podcast Store.
That's right.
That's the only place we see it.
That's right. Our range of vision is so narrow.
We're like horse with blinders.
That's right. And again, if you review us anywhere else, just shoot us an email and be like, yo, I did this.
Oh, yeah, because we would love to give you a shout out.
We would love to give you a
Big
shout
ups
out.
even.
Mm-hmm. And Nintendo Cartridge Society
At
gmail.com. Mark, we are coming up on a retro month.
That's right.
This is a whole month where we are all of our Thursday episodes, we're going to be talking about cool retro games.
And not just cool retro games, but weird retro sequels.
Now, look, weird is a non-specific word,
Well,
right?
they're all weird, whatever that means, in their own way.
Right.
It means something different. It means something different for each of these games.
It's something where the sequel is a large and unusual departure from the original. Which means the first one of these that we're playing is Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, on March 7th. On the 14th, we're doing Mario Land 2, 6 Golden Coins. On the 21st, we're doing Star Tropics 2. And on the 28th, we are doing Castlevania 2. Most of those are available on either Wii U or 3DS Virtual Consoles. Sorry about Star Tropics 2. It's not really available anywhere anymore. We got it on my Wii U going into Wii mode. We've got it on the Virtual Console there. I don't know what anyone else is going to do.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully everybody had as much foresight as you did.
Right, or still has their NES carts from
Exactly.
1992.
Yeah, also, I feel like there's some way that you can play these games on your computer that I've heard about, but I don't really understand
We do not necessarily endorse what Mark is implying. Anyway, if you could play along and listen, those will be fun episodes. We've already got a few of them in the can.
Yeah, but let us know your thoughts.
Yes.
If you've played these games, if you're playing them for the first time, we'd love to know what you think about any and all of these.
All right, great. Mark, let's get into what we've been playing this week. So I have been playing Wargroove, but only a little bit. I was very excited to get started on Wargroove, but the weekend just sort of got away from me. And so I've only been playing it for about a half an hour today. I love what I've experienced so far, but I believe I will save most of my comments on Wargroove until next week. Now I know that now that I've started it, I'm going to have a hard time not playing it.
Well, I, of course, am wearing my big boy pants now because I got all the characters unlocked in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate last week.
That's right.
And I did play a little bit of Piranha Plant.
Mm-hmm. I also tried out the Piranha Plant last week. Was that after we recorded?
I think it was. I think it came out on like Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, he hops around. Yeah, I find some of his moves to be not like what I expect them to be. Like his side B feels like it's maybe
Is that the poison?
That's the poison one. Yeah,
spits out.
Where like I almost want it to be his like neutral B.
Mm-hmm.
But these are me problems and not Piranha Plant problems. I took him through classic mode, which was fun. Don't play with him in All-Star mode right now because that can corrupt your save data.
Yeah, so Nintendo actually released... Okay, so after the update was out and people were playing with Piranha Plant, there were a couple of reports that when the user played with Piranha Plant in All-Star mode, it corrupted their save file. But Nintendo actually released a statement today saying that they investigated it and they haven't been able to reproduce it. And as far as I can tell, it's not incredibly widespread. It seemed like it happened to a handful, literally like maybe 5 or less users on Reddit.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe it's just there are so many variables in software that maybe it's just a weird combination of games they have on their Switch combined with...
Could be anything. Well, and it's also not just the Piranha Plant. There was like a couple different fighters that people were reporting. But I could see how that very easily could spin out into fakiness. And, maybe just every time you play All-Star mode, which, first of all, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you doing the All-Star mode in this game? It's not. What are you doing? It's not fun.
Oh, maybe, I don't know. Maybe people like it.
It's going to corrupt your save data.
Allegedly.
And possibly.
I've also been playing Super Mario Odyssey.
Tell me about that.
Love that game.
Mm-hmm.
So I just did a bunch of moons in Metro Kingdom.
Great.
Still don't have every one in the kingdom, but got a little bored of Metro Kingdom, so jumped over to Wooded Kingdom.
Yeah, great.
Got a bunch there. And then I just got bored of Wooded Kingdom, so just flew back to what's the first one you go to? Lost? No, like the prehistoric one with the T-Rex, whatever one that one's called.
Yeah. It's like Cliff Kingdom.
Yeah, Falls Kingdom or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Cascade Kingdom.
Cascade Kingdom. That's where I am right now. That one I think is the kingdom where I have, other than one of those like non-kingdoms that you
Yeah.
stop at in the game. I have the least outstanding number of moons on Cascade Kingdom, so I'm
Okay.
looking to like wrap it up.
Yeah, just finish it up. There are very few kingdoms that I have completely wrapped up, including Metro Kingdom. I know there are a bunch in there that I'm like, nope, I'm probably never gonna get. I'm never gonna do this jump rope game 100 times.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That one I tried it once, got to like 55, and was like, oh, I'm done with this, right? Like I don't
Right,
want
like,
to do
I'm
this.
never
anymore.
gonna do it again. Yeah.
I don't understand how people were able to get, good for them, 999 moons without any
Without
guide
just-
or anything.
Yeah, it seems
How do you
almost
find?
impossible.
Yeah. Yes, unless you were literally scouring like every corner of the game. I mean, never underestimate the internet, but
Right.
especially the people who had to like write guides for.
Yeah, they had to find them in the first place.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Speaking of how do you ever find all these things without guides, I have been playing Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. I continue to find it to be a delightful game. I put in a lot of time this weekend doing the fourth island, which is the like underwater one. Some of those underwater like mazy levels are tough. And like just having the added pressure of like, oh, and you might run out of air is like just one like button too many for me. Where like, because I'm trying to, especially when you're like looking for all these puzzle pieces, you're like, no, I've got to try to swim into every wall to see if it's not a real wall. And then it's like, oh, he's also going to run out of air and lose health. It had been slow going. There were a couple of levels that I would play through and then play through again with Squawks, so he would like alert me to the presence of puzzle pieces, and then get to the end and still not have all the puzzle pieces.
What a nightmare.
It's a nightmare. And then every now and then I'm looking it up to be like, okay, what puzzle pieces have I missed? I mimed looking it up on my phone for people who aren't Mark who are listening to the show.
You're committed.
But yes, I'm gonna do it. I am through that island now. Then I'm just onto the 5th, the 6th, and then the special levels at the end, and then I'm done. But I will clear out this game, Mark. I'm gonna see every little bit of concept art that it has to offer.
Yeah, that's super impressive to me.
The collecting the puzzle pieces does not contribute to your overall completion percentage. In that
which
game.
is interesting to me.
All it does is unlock. So the percentages are just the Kong level, the letters, and finishing each level with the various exits. What the only thing that the puzzle pieces do is unlock these like pieces of concept art, and some of them are whatever, they're just sort of, they look like stills from the game, but like someone kind of sketched them out, and others are really more conceptual, and it means you get to see a lot of drawings of Donkey and Diddy in a like slightly different art style, and it makes me wish that like they would make a Donkey Kong game in these art styles where he looks more like an actual cartoon and not like whatever we call that rare Donkey Kong style. But yeah, I'm just really enjoying those, and I'm glad they're all there. Mark and I were also playing Mario Land 2 6 Golden Coins, but we will talk about that in like a month. So nothing further needs to be said about that now. All right, let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
Today, February 5th, Etrian Odyssey Nexus is coming out for the 3DS. This is supposedly the final Etrian Odyssey game to be released on the 3DS.
All right. How many Etrian Odyssey games have there been on the 3DS?
I'm not sure actually. I think that the game before Nexus was Etrian Odyssey 5. I want to say. I don't know that they were all released for the 3DS, and I could be totally wrong.
Yeah, that does seem right. 5 was the previous one. All right.
And then on Thursday, February 7th, Blaze Blue Central Fiction Special Edition is coming to Switch.
Now, I was asking about this earlier, and you were saying that this is a re-release, I guess the special edition of
the fourth game in the series, right, which came out, I think, for the 3DS the PlayStation 3 originally.
So I'm not a Blaze Blue guy. But I mean, it looks like the kind of fighting game that I would be interested in. It doesn't not look like an SNK fighter to me, which is like a little bit more style. But I really don't know anything about it. If anyone is listening now that knows anything about the Blaze Blue games and wants to try to sell me on it, shoot me an email, Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com.
And then on Friday, February 8th, Yokai Watch 3 is coming for the 3DS.
They did away with like releasing two different versions like they had for previous games, or is it?
That's actually a good question. I'm not sure. Maybe it is two versions, and this listing just has one.
Look, we don't know much about Yokai Watch. All right.
It's like Pokemon with yokai.
It's like Pokemon that we're even less familiar with. All right, Mark, let's get out of the new releases. Now it's time for a regular segment on our show. It's time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or a group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So, for the duration of one performance of 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. And today, because our listener Chandler requested it, we are going to be talking about Into the Spider-Verse. Happy birthday, Chandler.
Happy birthday, Chandler.
So, Mark, Into the Spider-Verse, we saw this movie.
We did. We saw it together.
It's true. We went to the... Where did we see this movie?
ArcLight.
We went to the ArcLight
because
Hollywood.
We went to Umami beforehand and got Impossible Burgers.
That's right. It's become a little bit of a tradition in our friend group to see some of the Marvel movies, to get an Umami burger and then go to the Marvel movie when it comes out. And usually the Marvel movies are at this cool little theater that we go to. Am I talking too much about this?
No. I mean, guys, we're so LA.
We are so LA. Oh my God. So Spider-Verse. Mark, what'd you think of Spider-Verse?
I loved it. I thought it was awesome. Yeah, I thought it was great. Are we done? Is there clapping yet?
We've got like at least 4 more minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's tough because I just really like the movie. Like,
yeah,
I'm a big fan of the Spider-Man comics. I was super plugged into Spider-Man during like the Dan Slott run on like going into the Spider-Verse. I loved Spider-Gwen when she was introduced, so seeing her in this movie was amazing. And just all of the stuff of just seeing parallel Spider people, that's very exciting to me. And now I want to see any like licensed property that does this sort of thing. Like, yeah, give me an Into the Batman verse, give me an Into the Superverse, give me an Into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles verse. That's all I want. Just mash them up.
Yeah, I thought that. I mean, it just worked for me entirely. I thought it was funny. Thought it was surprising.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was really beautiful to look at
and to listen to.
One of my friends who saw it, actually two people I know who saw it, commented that when they were watching it, they felt like they had wandered into the wrong theater and were seeing the 3D version. Like they felt.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, like so I guess for them, like the visual style didn't entirely sync. Like it didn't work for them.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is something that does make like objects in the foreground feel like, I think you maybe do see some like mismatched like lines for characters that are more in the foreground, which is sort of that the effect of seeing something in 3D, right? That there are like two versions of the image next to each other. But like, I don't know, I it's like they invented a visual style for this movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know, like everything I've read about it is like, oh yeah, it looks like the comics, and it's like, well, it really doesn't. Like, no comic looks that good, you know? And like the language of comics is different from the language of cinema, and like this thing definitely borrows from both and creates its own identity. But yeah, I could see where maybe that messes with some people's eyes.
And I guess like the one criticism, if I had any at all, for this movie, which again I loved, is that occasionally it was too visually busy for me for extended periods of time.
Sure.
And I appreciated it more when when the editing was less frantic. Sometimes it was just too much when the editing was like really quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I could see that, especially in the like last action sequence where like any sense of space is kind of tossed out the window, where like they're just jumping around on like buses and like streets that are like flying through the air. How big is this thing? How big is the like wormhole generator under Fisk Tower?
Seemingly enormous.
Immeasurably large. But even that stuff, it all like more or less works and is like fun and funny and exciting. So like, yeah, even my criticisms, I'm like,
yeah, exactly. I'm glad that it is successful. Like, I'm glad that they're moving ahead with other movies in the universe. This is probably the Spider-Man movie from Sony that I've like really loved.
Right.
Ever.
Other than Venom.
Yeah, I mean, of course.
Right. Of
other
course
than
you
Venom.
love
But I mean,
Venom.
that goes without saying.
I mean, it's Venom, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3. Man, there have been some bad Spider-Man movies in the last like decade and a half.
I mean, there's probably more bad Spider-Man movies than good Spider-Man movies.
Sure, like James Bond.
Yes, exactly. Like, I don't think the first Spider-Man movie is very good.
Like the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Oh,
but I guess
well,
we'll never know for sure.
Never know.
Happy birthday, Chandler. We kind of talked about Into the Spider-Verse.
We were accompanied today by the Victoria Symphony as conducted by Tanya Miller. All right, Mark, let's get into the news.
Okay, so last week, Nintendo released their earnings report for the 9 months ending December 31st, 2018. And really, like, the big news out of their briefing is a redefining of the company's business strategy.
Okay.
So it's pretty big. Previously, and is made popular by former president Satoru Iwata, one of Nintendo's core tenets was, quote, expansion of the gaming population, i.e. the, like, blue ocean strategy that we heard a ton about during the Nintendo DS and Nintendo Wii years, of attracting demographics outside of what is considered, like, the standard stereotypical video gamer. So like a dude teenager,
Dude teenagers, man.
that's pretty, I mean, that's pretty much the gaming sweet spot. But Nintendo's feeling now is that with the explosion in mobile devices and mobile gaming, everyone games.
Sure.
And so the previous barriers that Nintendo was trying to break down don't apply anymore. So their new strategy as a business is broken into three main pillars. One, the dedicated video game business, and this remains their core. So this is their dedicated hardware and dedicated software. Their mobile business is the second pillar. And then the third pillar is the IP expansion business.
So the IP expansion business and the mobile business are sort of like what the Blue Ocean turned into, right? Like, if what the Blue Ocean was originally, Wii Fit or Wii Sports, or Brain Age, games that are meant to appeal to people who don't play games, that has been sort of replaced with mobile stuff, which is just kind of acknowledging that everyone plays mobile games, or at the very least interacts with their mobile device all day, every day anyway. And IP expansion being like how you actually reach out to more people. If you can't reach someone through a game, reach them through a movie or a theme park or a TV show or something.
Right. So to your point, basically, instead of trying to expand the audience for games, Nintendo is saying that audience is already there. Like, the audience has already been expanded.
Mm-hmm.
So our focus now is just to continue to make games that appeal across the spectrum of people who are playing. So it doesn't mean no more Labo, no more Brain Age, no more Wii Fit, or in whatever form that takes.
Yeah.
It just means we don't have to try to attract that audience. That audience already exists for games.
Man.
Like, they're already on board for gaming.
When are they going to put a Brain Age on my phone?
And it seems like a no-brainer. Like, it really does.
They could call it No Brain Age.
As far as the IP expansion aspect of the business, Nintendo says that they will, quote, work mainly through partnerships with other companies to expand the number of people who have regular access to Nintendo IP in areas other than video games.
Sure. So they're not like stepping up to say like we're going to make a Zelda movie on our own. We'll figure it out. They're working with partners.
Exactly.
Right.
So to that point, they say that Super Nintendo World, which is the theme park land at Universal Studios Japan in Osaka, is on track for a 2020 opening around the Summer Olympics that are being hosted in Tokyo.
2020, by the way, is super soon.
Yeah.
Like it's 2019 now. It's February.
It's only 11 months away. We're already 1 month down.
We've been doing this show for like 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, if we do what we've done of this show again already, we will have blown right past 2020.
Incredible. Universal Studios Hollywood has allegedly started construction, but Universal hasn't made it official on their version of Super Nintendo World. Like if you go to Universal Studios on the what are they called, lower lot?
Yeah,
they've like cleared a bunch of land.
Again,
torn down a bunch
we
of,
are
sound stages.
so LA.
Yeah. And then there's at Universal Studios Florida, Nintendo is allegedly going to be a big part of their as of yet unannounced new theme park, opening probably in the next 5 to 7 years.
All right.
And then Illumination Entertainment, which is part of Universal, Nintendo obviously has a very close relationship with Universal Studios at this point. They have a Super Mario movie, which is scheduled currently for 2022.
Does that seem like a long way away? I mean, I know it's a animated movie, and those take a long time to make. But I feel like it's insane that we know about this so far in advance. 2022? Can you name another movie that's coming out in 2022?
Oh man. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Like that's just not how we talk about movies. Like unless we're like Marvel, or like if you're talking about Star Wars and like you're making an educated guess, like you're not going to be able to say 3 years out what movies are coming out.
Yeah, it's a good point. And that's just when it's like planned for release.
Yeah.
Who knows if it runs into like development issues or anything like that. Nintendo is also beginning to expand their retail store presence. They're going to be opening a new store in Tokyo later this year. And also, wouldn't it just make sense with the opening of these Universal Studios theme park lands that they would open a Nintendo World type store in the City Walk malls that they have outside of the Universal Studios theme parks?
Yeah, that would be that would be great because then you could go eat at like a chain restaurant, right?
Uh-huh.
What else is at City Walk?
I mean,
just like a bunch of chain restaurants.
I mean, that's what it's for. Is like a chain restaurant and like tourist shops. Yeah,
right,
exactly.
And then a Nintendo World Store. Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, make a day of it.
I'm still not really clear on like why there is there just one of these stores in the world and it's in New York?
As far as I'm aware.
Why? Why New York?
Well, that part makes sense to me.
Just because it's a city that never sleeps. And
yeah.
It's the Big Apple, and it's where you can get lost and trick the sticky bandits.
It has it all.
It does have it all.
Including a Nintendo World Store. Mobile gaming is currently a tiny part of Nintendo's overall earnings, but it's something they're obviously focused on aggressively expanding.
Mm-hmm.
We learned that Mario Kart Tour, the Mario Kart mobile game that was announced last year, has been pushed back. It was originally supposed to release before the end of March, but will now release sometime in summer of this year.
How do you feel about that right now? Knowing that it got pushed back a little bit.
I would be really curious to know who's developing Mario Kart Tour.
Retro.
Well, no, I mean the reason I say that is because so Nintendo also announced Dr. Mario World coming early summer, and that's developed in coordination with a Japanese messaging app company Line and a company called NHN Entertainment. So that's the third outside company that Nintendo is working with on these mobile games. There's DNA,
right, which was like the first
right, and like
their first partnership.
Exactly. For like Super Mario World, I think they developed Animal Crossing and also
Fire Emblem?
Fire Emblem Heroes. But I'm wondering if their developed Mario Kart Tour, because Nintendo purchased shares in DNA,
And
but it
had DNA
kind
buy
of,
shares in them too, right?
I can't remember exactly
Okay.
how it worked, but it kind of feels like that hasn't worked out super well. Like their most successful mobile game currently is Dragalia Lost, and that's by Cygames. And then we have this third
Is
company.
Fire Emblem Heroes not more success? I know it too is also very successful, or at least like that Dragalia Lost and Fire Emblem Heroes are like on the same tier or like similar tiers
Yes,
as far as success is concerned, monetary success.
But also, Dragalia Lost is in like a handful of regions at this point,
Oh, good point.
and Fire Emblem Heroes is much more. It has been released in more places in the world.
Dragalia Lost is one of those games I every now and then like think about going back to. Do you ever think
Yeah,
about
totally,
revisiting
and
it?
it's probably changed so much
Yeah.
since it was released. I think there's way more content in it now. And actually, one of the things they mentioned is that they are going to be releasing Dragalia Lost in more territories around the world. But yeah, I don't know what to think of their mobile stuff. So to answer your question, if DNA is responsible for Mario Kart Tour, I think that reflects poorly on that partnership.
I see what you're saying. I see.
Because it feels like it's been bumpy. But how are you feeling about Dr. Mario World, knowing that we know nothing but a title
Look,
about it?
it's a Dr. Mario game, so I'm there day one. It could even be like sort of a predatory Dr. Mario game that makes me pay. I mean, for like another minute with it.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be like a Magic Fingers at a hotel.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
a cheap
exactly.
motel?
Yeah, it'll come with a like coin op attachment, and I gotta put a quarter into it. And all, I mean, I'm into it. And also, like, if Dr. Mario World ends up being anything else, I still think that the Dr. Mario IP has a like power of personality to it. Those viruses have enough personality that has never really been tapped. Like, let's put those viruses in another context and do something with them. Try to stomp them out with pills.
Here's my guess for what this game is.
Yeah.
Since it's called Dr. Mario World, I think that there's an overworld map. There's a little bit of story, and you go from like level to level, and there are different like puzzle configurations that you have to basically like different. What would you call that? Boards.
Yeah, like different challenges.
Yeah, that you have to complete, and then there's a little cutscene afterwards. Then you move on to the next level, and the microtransactions are like power-ups or items that you can buy to help you get through one of those puzzle boards easier, like something that like drops and destroys a bunch of viruses, no matter what color they are, or things like that.
Right. Well, and also like I feel like it's pretty common with puzzle games that you can do like play or wait, or pay or wait rather, so that to take another shot at the board, you either need to wait for 5 minutes or just actually pay money and get like more tokens to do it. If there are like leaderboards in this, and I can see how my friends are playing, like I'm a total sucker for multiplayer Dr. Mario. Like I'm there.
We also learned that Nintendo Switch Online has passed 8 million subscribers.
So $20 each subscriber. So $160 million.
Not too bad.
Not too bad.
Nintendo president Shintaro Furukawa said that they are working to expand the service's offerings, like with SNES games, maybe?
We don't know. We don't know what February's offerings are going to be. Not that we knew what January's offerings were until like 3 days before it happened, but worth pointing out, that could happen in February. We don't know.
Also, Nintendo weirdly said during its briefing that they were like, we're preparing at least one unannounced title for Switch that, quote, fans would be delighted to know, end quote. And then they also mentioned they have another unannounced title, quote, that is a nice fit to the online program. Why would you like, what a weird tease.
I mean, it is worth noting that the event that we are talking about is not for fans. It is for investors,
yes.
Right? And that they want to tell investors like, no, we got some more tricks. Like you'll get your money your money is well invested here.
Mhm.
But they're not prepared, like in marketing terms, to start telling you and me about it. So they gotta just be like, well, we've got something, and Mark and Patrick are gonna like it.
But isn't that implied, hopefully?
Yeah, sure, yes. Yeah.
I mean, why call out one game specifically?
Without like saying what the game is?
No, I mean, why at all? Just be like, okay, there's a game that we're making with one that fans are going to go crazy over. It just seems weird. It just seems like a totally weird tease.
Yeah.
Isn't hopefully every game you're developing something that fans will be interested in? I don't know.
I mean, do you think that's how they like pitched ARMS to their investors? That they were like, all Nintendo fans are going to be into this.
They did not pitch ARMS to their investors because the investors have been like, no,
what?
That doesn't have Mario in it.
All right, so Mark, what do you think these games are?
I have
One game that's fans will be excited
2D
about.
Zelda.
Okay, and the one that's perfect for online?
That Star
Splatoon
Fox
3.
Racer game.
Star Fox Racer game sounds great.
Last week, we also got a big rumor from Japanese business newspaper Nikkei, which reported that Nintendo will be launching a smaller version of the Switch as early as this year. So, according to their sources, the new Switch will be smaller, focused on portability, and will cost less at the price of having some reduced features.
So what do you think? Do you think that means can't pull off Joy-Cons?
Yeah, maybe. Okay, so when reports surfaced last year that Nintendo was actively working on a hardware revision, we did a whole episode where we were speculating on hardware, and our thought, we were pitching things for like a Switch Pro. Like a better Switch.
But we refuse to call it a Switch Pro.
That's right. Because we have standards.
Uh-huh.
They're low, but we do have them. But this seems to be going in entirely the opposite direction. This is like a 2DS play.
Sure.
Where you had your like premium 3DS, and then you also have like the 2DS version that's cheaper, has less features, was timed with a brand new Pokemon game, Pokemon XY,
which we, by the way, have
coming up in
Switch
2019
this year,
Generation 8. So, I mean, it makes sense. It seems like they're playing from the same playbook.
I mean, if Pokemon came out on Switch this year, with the Switch being like the normal base Switch model, that would be the first time that they would be putting out a core Pokemon game on and I'm not counting the Let's Go games in the as core games, but on a system that's as expensive as it $300 for a Switch. Like the most expensive a 3DS was like $200, right? Or like a 3DS XL, I think is $200.
I think didn't it launch much more expensive than that? Like, didn't it launch at almost $300?
Honestly, I don't remember.
$250.
The point is, Pokemon's got to get in as many hands as possible. You've got to have 4 machines in your house so that all your dumb kids can play and you can play. So like it needs to be on hardware that is as accessible and affordable as possible. And if that's what this is, then like, more power to Nintendo, I guess.
Totally. And to your point, I think enthusiasts, for the most part, have really embraced the Switch and like the hardware. It's the most premium, in my opinion, like premium looking and feeling Nintendo hardware in a long time. But the one criticism everyone has of it is like it's not really suited for children. Like it's almost too premium.
Yeah.
You can't safely hand it to a child, and like a 3DS, if they throw that thing around, you're kind of like, whatever. Yeah. It can take a beating.
And especially a 2DS, you could hold the door open with that thing. It's fine. Well, and like the nature of it too, with the Joy-Cons that slide on and off, make it difficult to put it in like a case or something. Because like you can put an iPad in one of those like Nerf looking cases, and a kid can. That is an ultra premium device, but there are easy like surefire ways to protect it from a kid messing with it. If you hand a kid your Switch, even if it's in like a grip or a kind of foam case or whatever that's protecting it, they're gonna be able to like get at it and pull the Joy-Cons off, and it is not a kid-proof device.
Yeah, so yeah, I shooting from the hip here. I'm thinking like smaller the screen, like the
Mhm.
form factor smaller, so the screen is smaller. The Joy-Cons don't come off, like they're always attached. Probably doesn't slide into your dock. Maybe you can. It either has like a separate dock you could buy, or you just plug in like the USB-C directly into it, or there's like a dongle that
Yeah.
attaches to the USB port that you can plug in, to the dock, something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and I mean all of those are all good calls. And with that you could also this is a tiny thing, but like take out the kickstand at that point, because if you're making it a strictly handheld device, it does not need to be it does not need to have that tabletop functionality.
And if it doesn't dock at all, like if it is purely a handheld device,
Yeah.
you're probably, this is totally a guess, like can use less powerful like chips.
Yep.
You maybe don't need the fan, just like, or
Oh,
you don't
yeah,
need,
interesting.
I mean,
Right.
again, pure speculation,
Right.
but will be interesting to see. Like I trust DK.
Yeah,
that
it
they
does
have like reliable sources.
This does seem like it's at least a little bit more substantiated than the sort of rumor of Switch revisions that kind of float around the internet, and that you and I then perpetuate by recording entire episodes. It does bum me out a little bit that when we were talking about things that we wanted to see in the Switch revision, we were doing some pie in the sky stuff, but like there is just some sort of base quality of life things where you're like, hey, there was the battery issue where like some of the batteries swell and make like the screens pop a little bit. You should definitely take care of that. The Wi-Fi antenna, the interior Wi-Fi antenna is bad. It should be stronger. I had a third one. Bluetooth headphone support. Like these are things that like don't seem like huge upgrades to like the hardware that just should be made.
Well, I guess if they are following the 3DS playbook,
right,
we're getting the 2DS version this year, maybe, and then
the XL,
or even the new. Yeah,
or maybe the new XL.
So, because I totally agree, there are a lot of those like niceties that I would like to see buttoned up on the Switch.
Yeah,
and if they did release a new Switch, I would 100% buy that version of it as well.
Right.
Nintendo knows I'm a sucker, and Nintendo is not one to leave money on the table.
No, we're suckers. Nintendo,
let us give you our money.
Let us give it you our money.
Turning our attention to things we know for certain in grammar that I will try to nail. Persona Q2 New Cinema Labyrinth is coming to North America and Europe for the Nintendo 3DS on June 4th. Interestingly, the game won't have an English dub at all. It's going to be Japanese voices with subtitles only.
Which, for most players of the Persona Q games, means that they won't have to go into the menus to switch the voice acting to Japanese.
That's right. So in that way, it's a kindness.
Mm-hmm.
Also, THQ Nordic has announced Darksiders War Mastered Edition for Switch coming April 2nd. Seems like this is just the first game in the Darksiders series for $30.
I don't have anything to say about the Darksiders series.
Yeah, me either.
Great.
Moving on, the ESRB, the Entertainment Software Ratings Board here in the United States, has rated Bloodstained: Ritual of the Night, Koji Igarashi's crowdfunded spiritual successor to Castlevania. It's been rated teen. In December, the game was delayed to sometime in 2019, but usually games are submitted to the ESRB when they are close to being finished, because it has to be the final build, or close to the final build, when it's submitted.
So sometime in 2019 might be sometime soon in 2019.
Yeah, maybe sooner rather than later.
Where are you right now on your Bloodstained Ritual of the Night like hype level?
So I enjoy a lot of those Castlevania games.
We really liked Curse of the Moon.
Yes. I didn't crowdfund this one. I wouldn't call myself like a diehard Symphony of the Night, like Castlevania, like that type style fan, but I'm definitely interested in this, but kind of waiting for like reviews.
Yeah, sure. I feel like this feels too similar to Mighty Number 9, like Inafune leaving leaving behind Mega Man to like make
that-
a new Mega Man style
That's
game.
a really cruel thing to say.
I know it is. Well, and I mean, just like Mighty Number 9 when it was first showed off had like kind of cool hand drawn sprites, and then it went to a sort of like kind of crappy looking 2.5D polygon like art style, and that is kind of similar to what we're seeing in Bloodstained. I don't know that we ever saw like cool old pixel art or anything like that, but we do have the example of Curse of the Moon, which does look like an old Castlevania game, and now all the character models are 3D and everything. I think Igarashi's just like got. I feel like his pedigree is like better and higher anyway. So I am hoping that this is not a Mighty Number 9 situation, but I share your kind of wait and see philosophy on this one.
I mean, it's clear that this game has had a rough go of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's been through like 3 developers. It's been delayed. So yes, definitely hoping for the best. Microsoft is set to announce a new cross-platform development platform at GDC 2019 that will allow developers to use Xbox Live to support achievements, social systems, and multiplayer across games on iOS, Android, and Nintendo Switch, in addition to PC and Xbox.
What does this mean?
So something like this already exists for Minecraft.
Yes.
Like
if you want to play Minecraft online on Switch, you need an Xbox Live account.
Right, and you sign in with your Xbox Live account, and you earn achievements with that Xbox Live account. So basically, it's like, to my mind, and the formal announcement hasn't happened, but what it seems to me is that they are just making Xbox Live a platform that any developer could potentially leverage. So instead of having to create your own online, you would just use Xbox Live. Similar to how like iCloud is a standard that Apple gives to developers, and developers can choose to integrate it. I assume Xbox Live would become a similar thing for gaming.
So Xbox Live is a free service, correct?
Yes.
I owned an Xbox briefly.
Yeah, I mean, Xbox, I think just like PlayStation Plus, there's an Xbox Live Gold, which is what you need to go online. But to have just an Xbox Live account, it is a free service.
So if there are games that are being released on like multiple platforms, like the aforementioned Wargroove, and there are achievements that go with it, and I buy it on Switch, do you think that will talk to my Xbox Live account on Switch, and I will be earning achievements, like Xbox achievements in Wargroove as I play it on my Switch?
Yes, I think that because it would be like tied to your account.
Right.
So yes.
Do you think there's a world where Nintendo gets in on that too, and they're like, and you can also earn achievements in Mario Odyssey?
I don't know. I don't think so, at least not immediately.
Yeah.
But honestly, online has never been something that Nintendo has done particularly well.
Right.
Seemingly almost by like choice, where they're just a little bit like, no, we are too worried about being sued maybe, or like bad press. So we don't want you to be able to like do a lot of the social things you can do on Xbox and PlayStation, because those can be abused, and we just don't want to be responsible for that.
I mean, I do think that is part of it, but I think, and this is something that we come back to a lot, is that Nintendo is a toy company. They are not a technology company, and while they use a lot of cool technology in their toys, the sort of nuts and bolts of communication technology, hugely complicated. And Sony and Microsoft have that sort of have that infrastructure in there to support it from the beginning, and Nintendo just doesn't. That's just not where their priorities are. They don't have a bunch of other arms of their company that is doing doing these things on their own. So like it's maybe just not feasible for, like, not only aren't there priorities towards it, it just might not be feasible for them to provide a smart online structure. And if Microsoft is just going to be like, hey, it serves us to be on your system, it serves Nintendo to have that on their system as well. So I don't know. I think it is probably one of the only ways that a solid online service is going to be able to come to Switch.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think it would be hilarious if in a few years Nintendo's like, oh, the Nintendo online service is just Xbox Live. Like we're just gonna use Xbox Live. Like we're just gonna be a developer that uses that.
Yeah, that would be great. If we could make friends on the Switch and not have to share friend codes with each other, I'm there. Let's do it.
Finally, a new Splatfest is taking place in Splatoon 2 this weekend. It's pancakes versus waffles.
Ooh, tough.
And the Splatfest starts February 8th at 8 p.m. Pacific time and lasts the standard 24 hours. Patrick, team pancakes, team waffles. Death is not an option.
Oh my God! And neither is French toast.
No, because that one's too easy.
Because you just do French toast.
Yeah,
it's just they're just so good. I think I'm gonna have to go waffles here.
I think I'm going waffles too.
Waffles are more labor intensive,
Mhm.
but I'm assuming in this scenario it is eat and not make. Right?
I think that's true. And if nothing else, Eggos are a waffle that require very little work.
That's the easiest thing to make.
You can't put pancakes in the toaster.
Let me ask you this: do they make frozen pancakes?
They probably do.
They probably
and
do.
They're probably disgusting.
All right, Mark, let's get out of the news. Okay, that's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcast. If you like this episode, you can share it on Facebook or Twitter or something. That helps us out tremendously. On Twitter, I am at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell, and the show is at NinCart Society. The Facebook page for the show is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying, be our friends on Xbox. And thanks for listening.